Close to the camera. See, look, he's 5 pounds right now.
We're here at the media day for the 2021 Bassmaster Classic on Ray Roberts.
This is a tank. Look at the size of this thing.
Progress we've made so far on our Hobie PA14. Got it wired up for 12 volt right now. We got the P127. That money!
That's a monster!
Got one. Took him long enough, didn't it? He knows. You know that's your outro.
I know, but I mean, like, I was waiting on you because, like, you just kind of put me on the spot and it's like it didn't flow. Right?
Whatever. All right, guys. All right, everybody. I want to thank y'all for tuning in to One Objective tonight. Guys, we got a really good show lined up for y'all. We got special guest Mark Edwards. He's going to be coming on later. We're going to be talking about early pre-spawn bass fishing. We're right there. A lot of the country's had some major warm fronts, 70-degree days, a steady 60-some degree days. And then all of a sudden the weekend hits, and then it goes to crap with 40s and 30s. So, yeah, I mean, like, everybody's at work just looking out the door like, when, oh, man, I can't wait till the weekend. And then it hits, So, but hopefully here in the next several weeks, it's going to start looking prettier and prettier and prettier. We got some guys coming in. Tyler Bean, hey, man, thanks for joining us. We got Heath, he's joining us, and we also got Brittany. Hi, Brittany. But I thank y'all for tuning in. Guys, like I said, we got a good show lined up. First off, I want to thank all of our sponsors. We've got some really good sponsors that are backing us this year. I'm excited about getting some videos out with some of our sponsors. I want to thank Amped Outdoors for joining us. We're also a dealer of Amped as well, so you can check them out through our website at oneobjectivebf.com. Love their batteries. Yes, I said batteries. I get that. I knew you were going to say something. I get it a lot, man. And we get customers that come by the shop and they say stuff to me about it. It's fun. It's all fun and games, but I've always said it that way. So, but yeah. So I mean, we got Amp. They are helping support a big project we got going on. We got some lithiums just sent to us. It's gonna be going in the old Ranger RT 198Ps. Excited to get them in. Plus our Hobies, we're running basically all Amped products on there, which I'll do some more videos, probably on our One Objective Outdoors channel of a whole full walkthrough of it. But also want to thank Missile Baits for helping us out. They've been with us basically since day one. Great products. Love Missile Baits. I'm a big fan of the Baby Destroyer, especially when it spawns on. I love flipping that candy grass Baby Destroyer around. It's just a good bait. But they got some other great colors. But also I want to thank Waterland Sunglasses as well, Waterland Eyewear, for joining us this year. And you can go to Waterland and at checkout, type in One Objective for the promo code and save yourselves 15% off. So make sure you go check that out. These companies support our podcast show. They support us through, our tournament seasons and all that. So let's support them. And the really cool thing about the sponsors that we have, basically they're not some big corporate companies. You know what I mean? They're all small companies. Just kind of like how we are. We love it. We love supporting small companies because they support us too. So make sure you go check them out. Great people to deal with. All of them have exceptional customer service. So make sure you go check them out. So we got a few more people coming in. If you like, you can put in the comments where you're listening from. Make sure you guys get some questions in for Mark today. We're going to try to get to all of them. We got a lot to talk about. Me and Mark both fished the same tournament series. We're gearing to go to Guntersville here shortly. But we've known each other for a little while now, and had the opportunity to hang out with them guys down there at Fork and a few other events last year. I'm excited to get this year going and hanging out and talking and all that stuff. So, but Chris, let's go ahead and get Mark in here and let's talk to Mark and talk about the 2023 season. What's going on, Mark?
Hey, man, thanks for having me.
Oh, man, I appreciate you taking the time to come in and join us. I know it's a Sunday night. You got to go into work tomorrow, but I really appreciate you getting on here and talking fishing with us.
Yeah, I'm normally work 12 hours on Sunday, but we're out of material, so I didn't have to go in today. So.
Well, I guess that's a good thing in a way. I don't know.
Yeah,
You're making
it
money.
is a good thing that then I need paid too. So
It's a double-edged sword there.
yeah.
It gives you time to get ready for Guntersville, though. I mean, that's coming
Yeah.
up here in about, what, 2 weeks now?
Yeah, I lined up a few rods today.
Yeah.
Got some more line coming this week. So
Yeah, I'm getting excited. I did the same thing when the Daytona 500 was on today. So while that race was on, I was there at the coffee table cleaning up reels and watching that, and just it's been real windy today here. I mean, it's been beautiful weather, but like temperature wise, it's just super windy. So I didn't really want to do much outside. So I watched the race and clean reels.
I listened to Bass Live all weekend.
Oh yeah, that was what. So like between MLF and Bass Live, I mean, I'm not saying one is better than the other, or whatever. But which one did you pay attention to both of them, or once?
Yeah, I pay attention to both of them. It's just frustrating to have them both on the same time. They shouldn't overlap. There's only so many fans out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I watched the MLF until Bass came on, and then when Bass Live come on, I watched Bass Live over it.
Yeah.
But now I kept check, score tracker. I never watched live. And then Davis had that heck of a day. It's just crazy the cold front in Florida, how it just kills them fish. You freeze up.
Oh.
Am I the only one left?
Okay. All right, there we go.
There he is.
Okay, I was wondering, was I the only one there or what? But,
Yeah, I don't know. It might be my internet. I swear, I've been having other problems the last 2 weeks with internet. So 3 weeks maybe. But anyways, yeah, it was really cool to watch them towards the end of the day start catching their fish, whether they were at Harris or at Okeechobee. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you noticed, I mean, this is something we always think. And we're talking about. What we're talking about today is pre-spawn and cold fronts and stuff. But the day of the cold front really doesn't affect the fish as much as what everybody thinks.
Yeah.
It's the day after. The day after is really affects the fish.
Yeah. It seems like,
I mean, you can just tell with watching live, when you got that many people else out there and they're not catching them.
Yeah. Well, it seems like when the cold front's coming in, that's when they're chewing. You know what I mean? Like they're
Yeah.
really, like they know that they're going to be hunkered down for a little bit.
The nastiest weather, usually you catch, they usually bite.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of us, take it the wrong way sometimes. They're like, man, that cold front's coming in. Like it ain't gonna be worth crap today. You know what I mean? And then you come in and you're like, God darn, they really sacked them, because that's really what goes on. Like, right. The time that front's coming in is when it's good. Like when the wind's blowing, you got the rain coming in, like you say, right after the bluebird skies, it's still, like it's tough.
And that's what's so neat about both of the lives. I mean, when you're watching so many different anglers at the same time, and then I think it was 2 days on Bassmaster, like the 9 to 10 o'clock range, like the first day and the second day when they really caught them good.
Yeah.
Like the 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock was like on fire. I mean, Scott Martin was on fire.
Yeah.
In that little place. I mean, he caught a lot of fish he needed later on,
Yeah. Yeah. I really hate seeing Scott Martin fall off like he did, man. I was really rooting for Scott Martin.
I mean, I was pulling for him too. I didn't pick him in fantasy just because he was so much owned. I was like, eh.
Yeah.
But my fantasy team was the worst ever. You would think there would been more spawning or more sight fishing going on, I guess, but where he's talking about the water clarity, and I guess where there's so much water in that lake, and we're talking about how there's not that much grass. How grass filters the dirty water out.
Yeah.
Well, I'm guessing that's where they're having all that trouble down there. They're talking about.
Yeah, they were saying that, and the water, it's coming up, so. A lot of them talk about they couldn't even see the bottom anywhere they were at. You know what I mean? Like I think.
Oh, and their maps where they were fishing at was way out in the field. It looked like, yeah.
So I mean, but you looked at the Hobie event, man, and look how the first day they really hammered them. You know what I mean? Like Miner and all of them. Congratulations to them, man. That was a heck of a day one. I think it was 108 inches. Is that what it was?
It was 108 and some change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really phenomenal. And Justin Largan, man, the two Virginia guys, man, were battling it out on day one. And then Justin Larkin kind of fell off a little bit today. But it seemed like a lot of them fell off. But
Justin actually finished second.
did he end up finish the second? I didn't catch the
Yes.
rest. Really?
He messaged me. I sent him a screenshot like right before it went offline.
Yeah.
I think I might have sent it after the tournament was over or something, just to let him know where he was at. And then he's like, "Oh, I called up a few times or something." And then I was like, "Heck yeah!" And then he told me how much he called up, and I was like, "Whoa!" I was like, "Awesome." So,
no, that's great, because I was trying to pull it up for the show, and like it's really hard to find, not unless somebody shares something, So,
when I sent that message, it was after the tournament was over, and he had 186 something, and there was two guys at 185 something, and he's like, "I hope they didn't catch anything," which we knew that there'd be people put in stuff after, the tournament was over, but
well, it was
nobody
pretty cool going down, like catching them like they were down there. It was, but
he just winged it, dude. He went to another place. He didn't even fish the same area.
Yeah. I mean, he had a horrible practice, he said. And because I messaged him after day one, I was like, "Dude, heck of a job, man. Good, heck."
Yeah, I don't know if you listen to Ewing, but Ewing was talking about where he'd been down there the last 2 years for the college, boat tournaments.
Yeah.
So he knew an area that had good success in the past, but he didn't get to fish it in a boat tournament because people was already on it.
Yeah.
So he checked it out in practice, and it was the juice. He said 60 yards of it.
That's crazy, man. It's crazy. Good. Congratulations to them guys for sure. Everybody that did well in that event, because it looked like it was going to be kind of tough. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. So I don't really know what Ewing ended up with. He talked about culling twice near the end of the tournament with a over 20 and a 17. So and he had 219. So he probably was over 200 and something. Be honest with you, he killed it. Yeah, he killed it.
Yeah, I could, like, I was trying to pull the results up for the show, and like I just couldn't find, like, that's the one thing I hate about it. Like, they don't post a lot real quick. You know what I mean? Because they do the live, all that stuff.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
So, but no, I couldn't pull it up. So, but yeah, that's cool to see Justin Larkin come up like he did. So I'll have to reach out to him tomorrow and talk with him. But yeah, that's great. Well, let's talk a little bit about your 2022 season. You had a really good season, and it come down to the wire there at the end. Pickwick was going to be a big thing, you know what I mean, on how this deal was going to go. And between you and Justin Larkin, I mean, it was a 2 points difference. So
yeah,
we were all trying to do the math and where Drew had to finish, and you know what I mean, like it was so many variables.
Yeah, well, like on that, I didn't worry about all the variables that I couldn't control. My goal was to go down there and win it.
Mm-hmm.
And I, had an area picked, and me and you was at the same ramp, the same idea, and you ended up not even fishing there. But yeah, I mean, I spent all my time in one spot, and still didn't figure it out. Like, I guess we just don't. I don't fish too hard in practice.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to burn fish. I'm so used to West Virginia fishing, you can't burn fish. I don't even practice in West Virginia anymore, just because if you hook two good ones, they're not going to bite tomorrow. You're going to, it hurts you bad. So you just figure them out on tournament day. But I was fishing the tailwaters, and the deal was that whenever they were running the turbines, man, I figured out where the bass was setting, because I caught so many trash fish. It was unreal the first day of practice. There's just so many fish come up to the tailwaters in the fall with all the shad and stuff. Yeah. I sent you pictures of skipjack. I was catching skipjack on Alabama rig.
Yeah.
It's just insane.
Well, you caught some, you were on the right fish. You just,
I didn't adjust right. I said, if they don't run that turbine, I can finesse fish and maybe get my limit. And I didn't do that. I just power fished the whole time.
Yeah.
Like a hardhead. I mean, I had two the first day. The thing is, it's pretty neat by turning X. You can actually look at the weight. And I had two smallmouth over 20.5 inches.
Mm-hmm.
And they both were like right at 5 pound smallmouth. And Then I had like a 15 or something, my third fish. So I only had 3 fish day one. But if I would have finessed, and what happened was the second day, I had no pressure because Drew already had a big bag, and there was no way that I figured he was going to get a limit.
Yeah.
And there was just no pressure. And I didn't even, honestly, by 8 o'clock, I was talking about even going home. I'm not a sore loser, but I'm competitive, and I'm like, what am I in it for? If I can't win, then I'm not in it,
Yeah.
But anyway, I stuck with it, and I said, I'm going to make one trip out this wall. And yeah, I had 89 inches in like 30, 40 minutes or something.
Yeah. That's tough, man. And it was kind of the same with me. Like on day one, I figured out where some bigger fish. Well, I figured out where some bigger fish were on day two that I missed on day one. And I caught a couple good ones on buzz baits. But like my practice was kind of like yours down there where I was at. Was I caught a couple and had a couple blow-ups on buzz baits. When you're getting blow-ups, so you don't know what you're getting sometimes, because a 12-inch fish can hit it like a freaking 4-pounder. You know what I mean? Like they'll just suck it under sometimes. You don't know what you got. So I didn't know, be honest with you, I had a couple blow-ups on a buzz bait, but then I was on a scrounger head and caught one decent one with that. And I was like, well, this is all I got. This is where I'm going. I ain't catching no more, and ended up losing 2 good ones on day one, and then just finished my limit out with some 12s. But and then the next day I ended up finding some bigger ones and was able to cull up. But in finishing, I think it was 9th I finished in that event. But I'm kind of, you look back at those and you're like, man, where would I have been at if I'd have caught those? You know what I mean? Like, was I in a good area that could have been a winning bag? I don't know,
Yeah, I only needed, if I'd have just had 2 small keepers the first day, I would have probably won it.
Yeah.
I think with one 12-incher, I'd have finished second. It was insane because it's on them 2-day tournaments. It's anywhere. It's hard to, do back-to-back big bags,
Yeah. Well,
and I didn't finesse fish the first day when I should have finished out a limit. I'd caught so many trash fish, I was scared to throw a finesse lure. I didn't want to mess around with a spinning pole and hook a catfish because I caught so many catfish. And the drum would fight. And then after I had that good limit, it was slick calm the second day, and I just started finesse fishing. And my first cast, I caught one. And then I ended up catching like 7 or 8 more keepers, all of them over 14.5 inches. 14.5 to 16-something inches. We're not big fish, but I'd love to had 2 of them the day before.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was still a fun event, but it is heartbreaking when you're in contingency. Like I basically had nothing to lose. I was trying to just get into the classic. You know what I mean? Like that's what I was, because I only fished 2 events before that. So like I needed that 3rd event.
And when you fish for points, you gotta think you gotta get a limit both days.
Yeah. And then like you say in day one, and we always talk about it, you can lose a tournament on day one. So you don't know how hard you need to hammer them. You know what I mean? On day one, do you need to hammer them really hard just to get out there? Because you don't know what day 2 is going to be like. But for us, fortunately, it looked like the weather was going to be very similar, But for you fishing tail race, you don't know if what time that water is going to be pulling, No,
I mean, you looked at the meeting and it was saying it was going to run four turbines or whatever. There's going to be all of them, but
yeah,
no. The weekend that one never did run. The one that I needed to run. But now, I mean, it's all learning experience. So now I've learned.
Yeah.
But all them dams on the Tennessee River are different too. So
I try. I mean, it's and like I say that this whole deal is trying to figure out that code, putting that last puzzle piece together, because everything changes so much from hour to hour on these things that, and kind of like how the Bassmaster stuff was. I mean, in the last minute, you can call up so quick. You know what I mean? Like everything can change so quick on the last.
Oh, well, my whole season, we started at Fork. I never even made a cast that year. Like last year, my first cast was tournament morning.
Yeah.
I never practiced or, because of the weather we had down there was horrible. It was 16 degrees that first morning. I mean, it was rough. Yeah. So, and then my graph, for some reason, my graph never would. I don't understand. Like when I plugged it into the transducer and the battery to power it, I could just take the battery inside the house and I can look at my Lake Master maps. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And find structure, find things that I wanted to look at. But when I put it on a kayak and plugged in the transducer with it, it wasn't reading my Lake Master. I didn't have no map.
Wow.
I mean, I had the old Mario Brothers lake crap. You know what I'm saying? Just a big blue ball. I'm like, God. So 16 degrees on a lake you never been on, and then you ain't even got mapping, you know?
Yeah.
So that was rough the first day and I only got one bite, and it was a good one. It was 18 something, but I don't even know what place I was at first. There was 150 some people in that.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know where I was, to be honest with you. After the first day, I only had one fish. And then the next day, I ended up getting my limit in the last hour. It got slick calm, the sun come out, warmed up, and I could almost call my shots. I figured out what type of tree they were laying on. They wasn't laying, there's standing timber everywhere.
Yeah.
But I happened to just figure out what type of tree they were on, and I could just use my Torpedo and get my kayak over there and make a cast. I mean, it was every cast. It was. I actually called with my last cast. I caught a good one.
That's what makes me mad because like the first day I did okay. I had a pretty decent limit. I think me and James James was up there really well. I was like in the top, I don't know, 15 or something like that. I think I was. And then second day, man, I catch a decent one, and then I catch a small one, and then I catch a decent one. But it was all jerkbait. I never made that change. I went further back in the creek, but I never made the change of maybe I should throw a Cinco, because James is right near. I mean, in like talking distance. I ain't even got to holler at him, catching one jerkbait still, but it's in one tree. Like all his fish came out of this one area, basically. So,
and he switched up to a Cinco.
No, he never. He caught all his off of a daggone, and he switched to a jig on the first day and finished out his limit. But
I caught my first one on a jig, and I threw that thing forever. Never got another bite on.
Yeah.
And the next day, I caught one on a crankbait. I sat on that point that I caught the one for like an hour, and it seemed like a pretty popular point because one of the guys in a tournament that's a local come up the first day and asked me if he could fish there, So I kind of figured this was a popular place,
Yeah.
And so yeah, I said sure, if he catches one, maybe he'll, I can see what he's kind of,
Yeah.
But he asked, and I said, yeah, go ahead and make a cast, And he had live sonar, and I didn't, and so he was obviously seeing fish, but he never caught anything, and he had a good first day. And then the next day he bombed out. He only caught one fish. But the second day, after that first hour, I just went beating the bank. I hadn't fished real shallow yet. So I just went cranking, which is great for pre-spawn. I mean, that's one of my favorite things to do is crank pre-spawn. So, dude, I didn't even make it like 100 yards down the bank and got my first keeper, and it was a good fish. And so then I cranked for like 3 hours and not another bite. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It was tough. And I ran into another competitor, and he was throwing he'd caught a couple on a crankbait too, but he hadn't had any bites for the last few hours. And man, it was just rough fishing, dude. There was still ice on the trees. And
oh yeah. I mean, the creek that me and James started in the very back on the first day was iced over. Like you threw a jig there and it just slid across the ice, and you're like, well, crap, like this is all we got, this one little area. Because like I said, we were like you, we never practiced none. We showed up, we found a creek fish on Google, and that's where we fished at. Like whatever happens, So,
your Aaron B house was right next to where I was staying. So.
Yeah. We were right there, and it was a cow farm.
Yeah,
it was wild. but no, that was fun. It was a fun season. I mean, like I learned a lot because that's the first time I've actually been on the road. All over the country, really fishing, all these different lakes. So we've traveled around Virginia, we've traveled around North Carolina, and some in West Virginia a little bit, and all that. But we've never to go down to Texas and Florida and all these phenomenal fisheries. Just and trying to pick apart and learning, like, you know, basically that everything we like to throw will work everywhere. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. You
So-
don't have to, like, a lot of times I've been bad for fixing a box going to a certain lake. Like, say Gunnersville's up next. Everybody's throwing red rattle traps, Rayburn red jackhammers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If I do that, I don't do as well. If
Yeah.
I just do what I know, got confidence in, because I've done that. I've tried what's supposed to work on a place, and and not have it work for me.
Yeah.
But and like last year, I think the only lake that I'd been to before on the Bassmaster Series was Grand Lake, but I never fished the spot I fished before. I fished a KBF event there in 2018, and the day before the tournament and that KBF event, I was in a hotel room and I'd practiced on Beaver Lake, and it was 2-hour drive from my hotel room to Grant. And I just bought my Oklahoma license online and woke up at 3:00 in the morning and drove to Oklahoma and put in, and it had these stupid rules where you couldn't put in a daylight and all that crap. So we had to sit at the ramp for a little while, but ended up finishing 10th, first guy out of the money in that tournament.
Wow.
But and I just went and fished, just fished like I would back home. You know what I'm saying? Just
Yeah.
and kept an open mind. I mean, like shaggy head and a buzzbait. It was in June, and seemed to work.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really crazy because, like, we fished some of the Hobie stuff too. We went up to Winnipesaukee and all that stuff, and like to fish that clear water like we did. I mean, it was still basically the same stuff that we fish there. We throwing poppers and crankbaits and jigs, all that stuff. Like it was just kind of like me and James look back like this year and we're like, we carried so much crap last year. I mean, so much crap. And then by the time it was all said and done, we still used the same stuff. Like we might have went in there and said, well, let me grab out this different color worm here or this different color worm here. And 9 times out of 10, we didn't even throw it on that water. You know what I mean? Like you just had it in the boat because you're like, if I can't catch them this way, I'm going to throw this. And it was always still a green pumpkin or a black and blue or white spinnerbait. You know what I mean? White buzzbait, whatever. It was just crazy. So, but kind of looking back at 2022, I know, we always shoulda, woulda, coulda, but is there any tournament that you look back at and you're kind of like, man, we know Pickwick, but like, is there another lake that you look back and you're like, man, if I could have just made a small adjustment here or a fish that I lost that would have changed the whole game for the whole AOI season?
Yeah, Florida. I mean, it wouldn't have really changed the AOI. I mean, I really wouldn't have changed the AOI, but I probably should have won it.
Yeah.
I was on a winning fish, and I had a torpedo that was like 5 years old, and you know how much I fish. I fish a lot. And I had it serviced one time before, and at our Bassmaster Championship on Russell, I fished a river the last day. Because I was like, you know how we kind of got a guess of what it's going to take to win or what, and I didn't have the greatest practice at Russell, and I thought 80 inches a day, maybe probably top 10. So I get 80 even, and I'm in 31st or 32nd place or something.
Yeah.
Casey had a 24 3/4. There were 9 bags over 90 inches or something.
Yeah.
And I was just blown away. And I'm like, man, if I fish that spot, I don't even think I'll get 80 inches again, So I just made a move to a river where the current blow Hartwell. But anyway, my motor was not, you could tell something wasn't 100% with it. Anyhow, I had a rough morning. I only caught like one good, it was a good fish, but it was the only bite I had. And the current was just so strong and just, I don't know, it wasn't doing too good. So I ended up the last minute, I got a limit and I ended up like finishing 13th. I had like high 80s or something.
Yeah.
But I didn't pay no attention to my motor. Like a week or two later, we was down in Florida. And as I put the motor on my kayak, I tried out every time before I launched my kayak, and it wasn't working right. So it gave me this error code, and I got luckily the thing lasted the whole event on Florida. But I found 2 offshore spots that was about a mile away, and they had the winning fish. I mean, I think I caught 3 fish over 20 in practice.
Wow.
Yeah, and dude, it's just a couple casts on each spot. It was awesome. You know, I mean, it's just one of them things where you couldn't do nothing wrong. And everywhere I went fishing, I could catch fish, just whatever I wanted to do. It was just like, I don't know, it's just when you can't do nothing wrong. You know, I was catching 17s, 18s on frogs, and I throw a speed worm, and you could just catch 15s to 17s all day on a speed worm. Then it come down to the tournament, my starting spot. I was worried, you know, that somebody else was going to start there. It was kind of obvious spot, and there was several of us at the ramp, and nobody stopped there. And I catch like a 21 in the first 15 minutes or something. And then I'm like, you know, can I get another big one there and then go to another spot? I couldn't. So then I go to the other spot, but I'm only running like half throttle, right? Every time I go full throttle, it does an air coat. So anyhow, I get to the other spot and I catch another 20 or something. And I think I have 3 fish with a small one. And then I go just flipping. And my first flipping fish is a 17 something. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, I only need 2 15s. And it was really I was going to say Major League Fishing Big 5 was there right before us. So they had 150 anglers beat the snot out of that place.
Yeah.
So it wasn't producing like it should have. You know, the Harris chain's pretty good. And anyway, that was one of them tournaments where you think you could win it. And I ended up with a 13 and a 14 and finished 4th. And like 2 inches out of second. I mean, like a 15-incher would have got me second. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's crazy.
Yeah, and then just I could do no wrong in practice, and I broke a fish off on my last cast, which I don't have a clue how big it was. I found a bunch of fish on beds, but then I went back and practiced and checked them, and then they wasn't there. So I thought, well, that they're unreliable. You know, don't even fool with bed fish because that Florida weather, man, them fish are really, they're up and back and gone, and they're not like fish around here. You know, fish moves up. Usually they're around that area again.
Yeah.
They're a little different. But I went to where a bedded fish was, and I couldn't see in there, and I threw a wacky worm, and it started going off, you know, carrying it off, and I was like, just, you know, you hyped up a little extra, give it a little extra pull. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you know, we all have those events. I actually got a few of them this year, but I ain't going to them details. But, you know, you just look back at stuff and you're just like, man, if I could just – but, you know, you learn from it. You know what I mean? And it's always a good learning experience when you have a bad event, you know. And even if you have a good event, but there's something that went wrong, you always look back like, man, I probably should have done this, you know, and you keep that in the memory bank.
Yeah. But I tell you, the best thing for people to do is write stuff down.
Yeah.
That I highly recommend writing stuff down. I did it one time and I quit doing it. Yeah. But I wish you would actually learn, you know, you could say, hey, this is what the weather was, you know, and you would learn faster. Yeah. Because you get old. I mean, I've got 20 years experience fishing, so I forget a lot.
It's very easy to forget. You know, like spots, for some reason, spots with me will stick out. You know what I mean? But like, if I go back and be like, oh man, I didn't make this adjustment or this, you know, stuff like that. Sometimes from 10 years ago, I can't remember. You know what I mean? Like, but like spots and certain times of the year, I can remember spots. But like when it comes to making the changes, sometimes where, oh man, I remember I hung this 10-pounder here. I know nothing that big. I ain't hung nothing big, but I hung this 5-pounder here, and he come off and it was on that side of the pole. You know, some stuff like that I just forget. You know what I mean?
I remember stuff really like pretty good, but like you're saying, the adjustments and stuff like that, I don't remember.
Yeah. It's hard to, sometimes it is hard to make those on the fly adjustments because sometimes too, when you're in a tournament, it's totally different. You know, like you're trying to get that next bite and you're living that moment. Like Ike and Ellie talks about, you know, fishing that moment. Well, sometimes you don't think back like, well, if 10 years ago I made this adjustment and I caught them, you know what I mean? So
Well, when I freaked out at Pickwick the first day, you know, I needed 2 more keepers. What I did instead of fish the moment, I fished history on a river that I hadn't tried in practice, you know what I'm saying, just to catch 2 keepers. I got out, got a Ned rig out and a little 3-inch grub, which works back home, which was not very smart of me because, you know, I was catching everything mainly on swim baits. You know, everything was bait oriented up there. With there's so many shad and stuff, which the little grub was fine, but why was I finesse fishing when all the shad was big? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Why was I trying to throw a Ned rig like back home here in the New River? Yeah, I want to catch fish, but yeah, I wasn't fishing the moment. You know, I was just spun out. I mean, it's so much mental. It's that people don't understand the mental of fishing.
Yeah. Well,
especially tournament fishing.
Yeah. Well, you know, you got, and I know you might not have been thinking about it so much, but you got AOI on the line. You're trying to win the event, and then you're on the right fish, but then it just unravels sometimes. You know what I mean? Like just the smallest things of a reel backlashing can cause the wheel to completely come off. You know what I mean? If things are already going bad, you know, or you hang up in a good spot, you know, where the fish are at. And a lot of times I know we just break it off, but it's that time of retying and, or
where you're talking about that. I had a club tournament one time, and this was about 3 years ago, and I hadn't fished this lake. It's about an hour and a half away from me, and I'd fished it a few times with boat tournaments, but like around the spawn time, and I didn't think they were spawn. It was a cold front anyway. It was really cold, and you know I had deep diving jerkbait on my mind, and it was 30 minutes into it. You know, brand new spoiler reel. It was in early April, and I hook a rod behind me and go blow my reel up. You know what I'm saying? It's just shot. You know, that I had to take all the line off.
Yeah.
But there goes my thought process of I'm going to throw deep diving jerk baits and catch big smallmouth, you know.
Yep.
And I struggled for like an hour or so. And next thing you know, I ended up finishing like 5th. But I caught everything super shallow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy.
Off a Ned rig. I mean, I wouldn't have. People don't understand it. Like, even though you throw little baits, I catch a lot of big fish on like a little Ned rig.
Yeah. And I give it to you guys that throw the Ned rig. I can throw a shaky head. I can throw a drop shot, but I cannot throw. I give my son one. Went to Bugs Island the other week, and it was tough. I mean, it was extremely tough. The water was cold, and it was super muddy, and it was really low. So, and, you know, bugs most time this time of year starting to feel back up, but it was just really low. And so I give them an orange crankbait because I know that's a good color down there, and then I give them a Ned rig. And he caught one off crankbait, but then he just threw the Ned rig for a little bit. He's like, I can't throw it. And I said, well, let me see it. Let me just throw it out here a little bit because I don't ever throw it. And I probably made 4 casts with it. I'm like, this is not for me, man. I just can't. But if I can put a shaky head out there. I just cannot. Yeah. What it is about a Ned rig.
Well, see, that's confidence. And I'm not confident on a largemouth. Like, there's really not spotted bass in Kerr. Or I wouldn't ever throw a Ned rig at Kerr.
Yeah.
It's all confidence. Like, if I'm around smallmouth, I'll throw a Ned rig. If I'm around spotted bass, I'll throw the big TRD, the 4-inch.
Yeah.
Because there's something about the spotted bass. They love a shaky head, but you know, a 7-inch worm is kind of. I did good on Smith with it. I mean, I caught a couple keepers on it, but they'd rather have a 4-inch or something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. But what happens around here with the smallmouth deal is you get that water so clear, you know, 2 3/4 Ned. It's small to us, but still it's in that clear water, it's still it works. It works, that's for sure.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the 2023 season. I mean, so for one, what do you think about the changes that Bass have done so far? You know, I mean, do you think it's good? Like, we're going in the right direction? What is your opinion?
I love Steve-O. But I like the 3-day practices we had last year. And I like the cutoffs this year. I like the month-long cutoff, but I don't like the week practice.
Yeah.
And the talking on the water thing, I think that's a little bit over ridiculous in a way. Because I mean, me and you fish in the same area. I mean, that's going to be kind of rough. Just say, hey, just throw a green pumpkin or 1/8 ounce instead of 3/16 or something.
Yeah.
I mean, just
Yeah,
hold
it
it up and
is.
say, hey, buddy, looky here, sucker.
Yeah. 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 It is tough because as friends, when you're out there with your friends and you're watching you catch, I mean, they're gonna be like, man, what are you throwing? Because
Yeah.
I'm doing the same stuff. What are you doing different? Whatever, and you can't give them information. I can understand the cell phone stuff. You know what I mean? I don't.
Oh, I'm 100% cell phone stuff. Yeah, you shouldn't. Yeah. But if you're in the same area talking on the water, I mean, come on, we should have the same rules at bass. And,
Yeah.
I used to fish BFLs as co-anglers. I mean, you're not allowed on your phone. You know what I'm saying? You're just not allowed on your phone. And emergency only. That's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you're on the water with somebody, I mean, a guy could be out of worms and just give him a pack. I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
You know how it is. I mean, you really don't know who you're going to fish with anyway when you go to a ramp. I mean,
Yeah. Well, I mean, what you do is if you're catching them, you got a few you put in a bag and you zip it up and you're like, oh man, I threw it in the
it's
water.
just floating. Just,
Can you grab those? Yeah. So, but
yeah, it's going to be awkward. I don't like that rule. I think they
yeah.
I think they're over.
You said flip the
And
lure
then,
on your bud's boat.
yeah.
He said the Ned rig is good up here in Minnesota. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's I think that part is kind of crazy, but I do like the no cell phone stuff. I'm 100%, like it's so easy for people to make a phone call. Man, I'm catching them over here. Come load up, bring your boat over here. And I don't.
Oh yeah. That's,
Like
yeah. I don't like that. I mean, I don't like people doing that. I mean, when I'm on the water, I'm probably not the most, I'm competitive. So, I don't know. I wouldn't say friendliest person, but I'm competitive,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no, I get it.
yeah, I'm there to catch fish is what I'm there for.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
You
But
come
now,
do a job.
yeah, but like that second day of Pickwick, I fished for about an hour or so, and I didn't have I caught a big striper, a decent striper, and hadn't caught a bass yet. And there was this bass boat. I was in a community hole deal, and this guy's just, fishing. I talked to him for a little bit, and he'd hit a deer on the way there, and I was telling him, man, I'm done out of this tournament. I'm thinking about, man, I should probably just go back to West Virginia. I got to work, tomorrow. And that's kind of conversation we was going. And he's like, yeah, man, I need to just get off the water too. Cause he'd hit a deer on the way to fishing. So he was kind of like having a bad day. And I'm like, man, I'm going to make one run out this wall and see. And it was, I think my first or second cast, I caught it 19 or something.
Yeah.
But after I had that limit, and then I would go to finesse fish and still catch 7 good keepers.
Yeah.
And it tells you how many fish is in the area because the fish are there. And then when that water clicks on it, just puts them in a spot, in a feeding spot.
It loads them up then. You know what I mean? It puts them in the predictable spots.
Yeah.
So, but no, what do you think about, now I like this rule. And this is the reason why. It's nothing towards nobody else. I like it for the fact that guys that are not familiar with that area, because we got a lot of these guys that have fished these bodies of water so much. They got friends that live near these locations. I'm not naming nobody on this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they know people in these areas that know, like, hey, this ramp you can put in here, you can put in here, you can put in here. So for like us coming out, Pickwick, for instance, I looked at a couple of ramps that were like, I was like, man, I think I can put in there. And you drive down and you're like, oh, this ain't a ramp. You know what I mean? Like this is somebody's property, But there's no signs. There's no like posted signs, keep out. Or now there was one that had bullet holes all on it. I was like, oh God, I'm never gonna get turned around out of here. But I think it takes out of that gray area. You know what I mean? And like
100%. I mean, it's going to put people on top of one another, which I don't care.
Yeah.
To be, yeah, but then you don't even have to worry. Y'all are fishing in the same.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that in a way. If 15 of us go out there, I'm planning on trying to outfish all 15 people at the ramp. You know what I'm saying? That's what
It's like a small tournament within the tournament. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but I mean, you know, for instance, but they still picked out some good like Gunnersville. It's all basically the public ramps. And then you have a few like kayak specialty kayak ramps, you know, where they can put in at. So like they did a good job because it makes it fair for the whole playing ground. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. And I'm looking forward to Gunnersville, but I don't have a whole lot of experience there. I mean, I got a little bit, but not a whole lot.
Well, me and James, and Jason Hensley too, he's going to be traveling with us. We were able to ride out on the Bassmasters Classic when they were down there, the year that Hank Cherry won it. Yeah. And Jason was with Seth Fighter, and I was with Skylar Hamilton, and James was with John Cox. So like we didn't get to fish, but you kind of got to see different areas. You kind of see how the lake sets up, you know. So you know, some stuff that Skylar Hamilton fished, I'm like, man, I got to try that. You know what I mean? I got the baits that he used, and you know, I know that maybe there's a potential of something being there. You know what I mean? But granted, the weather's different than when it was when Hank Cherry was down there. It looks like it's gonna be a lot warmer down there than when it was when the Classic was several years ago.
Oh, really? I haven't even kept up with it a whole lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've actually fished with Skylar. I fished a couple Bass Opens as a co-angler, and Skylar was 16, and his dad drove him to the lake, and I was like, oh man, I was telling my buddy, I was like, I got that kid.
Yeah.
And 3 years later, he's on the Elite Series, so he's a real good guy. Got a good family.
Super, super good dude, and I enjoyed every moment. You know, and like I'm one of them guys. I'll sit there and be quiet because I know some people don't like to talk. So like I'm just taking it in. And he's like, hey man, you still back here? You awake? I'm like, yeah, dude. I don't like talking to nobody when they're fishing because some of these guys, man, they might get mad at you. Like, shut up. You know, I don't. So he says, I think the new rule regarding designated launches is a good move, in my opinion. Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of people liked it. There was a lot of people that did not. And they're like, oh, it's taken out of the whole deal of this is a kayak tournament. Yes, I get that. But when you're competing, when there's that much money on the line, you got to take out the gray areas. You know,
100%. Yeah.
I mean, that's people, and I'm not saying nobody cheated. This is why these rules are here. I'm not saying that.
It's just taking out the gray area because it was kind of a gray area where we're like back here at local stuff. When I go to somewhere that I don't know about, I don't push the limits or nothing. I'm always launching from a public boat ramp.
Yeah.
And most of the time I'll watch a lot of old bass videos because bass, you can actually figure out where anglers fished at, or they're not 100% accurate, but they'll give you an idea where somebody had fished and caught a couple fish at.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how I scout, you know. And you don't want to always go where one little secret is you don't want to go where the guy won at all the time because that spot's going to get blowed out. But another guy that might finish in the top 10, this little area in which still has fish, you know. And the one deal with the pro guys, they fish so fast, and that's with a kayak. We're stuck in one spot. You got to figure out the fish. The fish are there. Like you'll hear them a lot of times. They're like, oh, they moved in and out. Well, not really. They might move in and out a few feet, but they're not moving thousands of yards, you know, in a few hours or something. I mean, they're still somewhere near there. They're just
that's
tight lipped or.
Yeah. Well, if you find them on a bridge somewhere and you got 400 yards or 500 yards to the back of the creek, you know what I mean? Like they're going to follow that pathway. They'll hunker down around that bridge for a while. And the thing is, you're going to have waves of them coming. So if this wave goes out, you got another wave coming.
Yeah, the bridge deal is like, you know, Gunnersville, it's super popular in the spring because they got them spawning flats in the back, and it's just a funnel, man. It's just going to be fish. It was a classic. This was before that class. Who won this? This was one that Randy won. Randy Howe. Me and my friend went down there, and I told him we stayed near there. Anyway, we was at a bridge before they took off, and we was waiting, and Brett Chapman pulled in. And I told my buddy, I said, there'll be somebody fish this bridge because actually I think David Fritz won a FLW event off that bridge. Anyhow, so we sat there the first morning of the classic. Here come Brett Chapman. He catches 10 fish. And back then, you remember when they used to have Bass Track where you could actually find the guys on the lake?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember they did that for a couple of years. But yeah, Brett had 10 fish that morning. You know, he only had like 10 pounds, but it was awesome to see him come in there. And you know, I'm bad for this, is casting in a spot and just cruising on down the bank or a riprap. He just sat in one spot and just was catching them, man. It was pretty neat to see.
Yeah. It's that's just like when I was with Skylar Hamilton. He was using a spinnerbait on the bridge, and to catch a big one like he did, you know. And there's people standing on the bridge because people were just driving down the road and like, I'm gonna stop right here and just watch him for a little bit because they see him, you know. And just to have everybody around when he caught that fish and cheering and this and that, it was pretty cool. Like,
oh yeah,
he's like, now, because you know, when he stopped and was fishing, everybody pulled up, he ain't catching nothing yet. And he's like, man, now I gotta catch him now. So he caught that one, you know.
The pressure them guys have, man, is unbelievable because I don't know if how much live you watched the Okeechobee, but there's so many people travel down there and just fun fish, you know. And well, it's happened to be the same week. Half of them people don't even know they're coming, you know. And then the guides, they still got to make a living, so they're going to take clients out.
Yeah.
And where they only had 5 spots of fishable water because of water clarity and stuff, they were just people on top of one another. I mean, there was every day the live camera would go over to somebody else's boat and they're netting a 8-pounder or something.
Yeah. He said, I can see a bunch of people fishing Browns Creek Bridge where Hank Cherry won the class in Gunnersville next month. Yeah. I mean, dude, there's so much Bassmaster stuff out there where everybody's been fishing. You know, like you're going to have to find those spots within those spots. Like,
yeah, and it's a timing deal. Like, you know, there's times where the fish still might be there and they won't feed, and then they'll go in like a 30-minute or hour feeding time.
Yeah.
Being there at the right time. But Gunnersville, one negative about having a tournament down there in the spring is just they just had a Toyota series this weekend there.
Yeah.
I mean, it is beat to death. It is fished to death. I mean, it's
going to be a lot of boats down there.
Just without us being there, it's already popular. So
yeah.
So there are going to be a lot of confrontations and stuff. The areas I got picked out to look at, hopefully I don't have none of that.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm hoping. I know that, you know, like I say, these fish are going to be moving. It's going to be warming up. People are going to be looking in the obvious places, you know. So it's just, you're just going to have to just whoever deals with the pressure the most on the water, I think is going to come out and able to guard the fish that they have. You know what I mean? Like that's going to be the next thing.
Well, anybody can pull up on a bridge on a Saturday. You know, like there's going to be one kayak angler going to catch them on a bridge for sure. But then he's got to leave at 3 or whenever our tournament's over with.
Yeah.
And there's going to be 4 or 5 local, or just, you know, 5 other boats there that's going to be beating it while you leave. I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah, they fish till dark. I mean, it's it's crazy. And then, you know, like say with practice, you don't know how bad other guys, because I noticed some guys practice really good, and then some guys just beat them up during practice. I mean, I caught 90 inches during practice. Well, that was not very smart. You know, like that's what I look at. So, like,
if I ever catch 90 now in practice, it's like I did in Florida, just by, you know, I caught one on a spinner bait. Then I tried a worm. Then, you know, I happened to catch a big one on a worm. Then I'm over here frogging on something totally different and catch a big one.
Yeah.
You know, something like that.
You know, if you change several spots during the day where you pull out and you go to
exactly. When somebody catches 90 out of a spot and then they think they're going to go catch 90 the next day in a tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, good luck.
And I've seen it a lot. And I just look and I'm like, golly, man.
I used to tell myself I used to win practices all the time. I used to dominate practice. I'd always catch a big one or something.
Yeah.
And like on my home lake down here, we'd have a tournament. And why would I even go down there unless they're responding, you know, to find someone on bed or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why would I even? Yeah. It's just things you learn. You know what I'm saying? Oh, and there's some people that still would, you know, catch them on a white spinnerbait, like you said, and then tournament day you go throw out white spinnerbait and you won't get a bite.
No, it changes up that quick. And another thing I have too is I will not share fish pictures during practice. I will not do it. I used to do it all the time when I did bass boat tournaments. Try to get in people's heads.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
I've done that to friends before. Yeah, in boat tournaments, I'd catch a big one in practice and I'd send it to a friend. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'd suck it up real bad. So then I'm like, I'm not sharing nothing no more. I've done the same thing with Chris fishing with me. We'll go fish. I'll go practice. I'm like, dude, I'm on them. Like we got some spots. And then we go, and then probably about like 9 o'clock, Chris is like, I thought you were on them. Like,
Yeah.
I'm really on them. I'm like, God dang, dude, I don't know what happened to them. They were here.
There's so much of it timing, man, with the fish too. I mean, if you could find them the last day of practice at the last hour, and then you're like, oh man, I'm starting there the first thing in the morning, and then you start there and not even get a bite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that happened to me at Chickamauga for the first the first year they was doing bass, and went to Chickamauga. I found some fish schooling, but all of them were like 4 and 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
So like, all right, they're here. So I go back next day, and I mean, I did nothing, absolutely nothing. And I ended up having to change up and went to a new spot and just found a couple little ones that did absolutely nothing for me during the tournament. But yeah, it was a grind with some of the, like, trying to get the timing right with it. And that's what you got to play with so much with the kayaking side, because like I said, we're so limited to spots. You can't just, you ain't catching nothing in these 3 docks, or you're going to fire out and you're going to go to another cove. You just can't do that, some spots, but not so much what we do. But looking into 2023, man, we, like I said, we got Guntersville coming up. What lake? I mean, we got Lake Guntersville, Hartwell, Possum Kingdom, Mississippi River, and the Susky. What system are you looking the most forward to getting onto? I didn't even say that right. What system are you looking forward to getting onto more than any of the other ones?
Possum Kingdom. Yeah.
I want to get down there. You fished the championship down there a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, and it was one of them days where I had a fair practice, but everybody knows that tournament was like blowed out for us water conditions. And the lake isn't the biggest lake in the world. And I think there was 150 competitors. So over half the lake unfishable almost. So it was like, honestly, dude, a third of the field was at one ramp where I was. It was, I've never seen, we were 3 to 4 wide coming out of this creek. We were like bumping each other. I mean, there was poor guys. There was like one guy paddling, he's whacking people, and then people were trying to pedal and keep up, and they're steering, bumping people. It was like that for like probably like a quarter mile.
Yeah.
It was rough.
Style and just start bumping.
What happened was I knew I could do maybe a decent limit in there, and I did. I had like 80 some inches the first day. Had me, maybe in the 30s or something. And I just told myself I hadn't fished any other ramps. I'd fished the mud first day of practice, and I said, I'm not doing that. And wasn't sure. I couldn't go to the other end of the lake because one day the bridge was closed. I was going to practice on the other side of the lake, but I couldn't. So I just launched 3 days from the same place. And the last day of the tournament, I just went to the other side of the lake just to see a different spot. And I told everybody there at the ramp, I said, man, I'm not going to get in y'all's way. I'm just trying to catch fish at a different spot. Y'all just if I'm in your way, just tell me,
Yeah.
So I let everybody launch first, and then I took off, and I went down through there and found a green light on a dock, waited to first cast. At first cast, I catch one. It was pretty awesome. I mean, I kind of struggled that morning. I mean, I got me a small limit, and then on a point with the last hour and a half, I caught 90 inches.
Wow.
Yeah, and I broke one off that would have helped, but I ended up finishing 13th in that one too. But it was just unbelievable that flurry that I caught that evening. You know what I'm saying? It was just awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And we're going to be going down there close to the same time, but hopefully the weather isn't.
It's going to be the same time. It should, it's 100% post-spawn-ish, and yeah. I mean, that was a fluke, flood conditions and stuff. Yeah. So hopefully, I mean, it was really neat because, I mean, Possum Kingdom is East Texas is the same as everywhere else is, normal green leaves and oak trees and all that. As you get west of Dallas, you get into desert,
Yeah.
And Possum Kingdom is, I remember seeing Aldad, the Aldad sheep
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right above a rock cliff. They were fishing, they were right above me. It was really good, the views and just seeing different water, I'm looking forward to that. And I fish lacrosse, and lacrosse is like, you're not going to catch your personal best like you can at Possum Kingdom, but just the amount of fish you can catch, dude, it's just unbelievable.
And I really want to fish that one. And we're kind of up in the air about it because ICAST is basically right after it. So like, I don't know, because we got some obligations for ICAST. So I don't know if we're going to be able to go there, come back, ship products, and then basically leave, because we won't get back until like Monday afternoon. And then we'll have to pack up and leave to get down there by, if we leave Tuesday night, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a lot of work to try to get product out. So I don't know. I don't know if Mississippi River, I know we're definitely fishing Gunnersville, Hartwell, and Possum Kingdom. And then I really want to fish a Susky. So I think that's going to be a fun one.
I haven't fished the Susky, and I've had the opportunity to, but I just didn't take advantage of it.
Yeah.
It should be really good.
Yeah.
And it's super popular. So the schedule is great, to be honest with you, because, I mean, that's a real popular event. Lacrosse is popular. Gunnersville is going to be popular.
Yeah.
The only negative to Gunnersville is the timing is like, we just had Harris Chain Hobie, and, we got, 2 weeks and we'll be at Gunnersville. And if I'm not mistaken, is Caddo the next week after that?
I think so. It's tough. It's tough for anybody. We tried it last year, and we did it pretty much. You know what I mean? Like, we did most of the tournaments, but it's really tough, man. Like, to chase points in both events. Not unless that's just all you got. If you ain't really got a family, or your work schedule can allow it, like, you could possibly do it. But like, if you got a family and you work too, like, it's really tough to chase both of them.
Yeah, and one change we didn't talk about is like Bassmaster last year had 2 events that was 2 days, and the rest of them was 1-day events.
Yeah.
Well, this year they're all 2-day events, and where I'm scheduled to work on Sundays at 11 and a half hours, so that knocks me out 11 and a half more hours of vacation, which that's a lot of vacation.
Yeah.
But when you go to lacrosse fishing 2 days, so then I'm going to have to take Monday off too, so I'm taking 2 days.
Yeah.
And some things changed at work. Like, it used to be, I was able to, if I missed a Sunday, I could work an extra day later on in the week, maybe make up for it.
Yeah.
But I can't do that anymore. So
yeah, it's tough, man. When, like I say, just working the work schedules out, that's the hardest part. And kind of, like me and James, we have the opportunity to do what we do with our business, but it's just us that run a business. We don't have other people that work for us and all that I mean, granted, his wife will ship stuff out for us. His wife and kids, when we're out of town, will take care of some orders for us. But other than that, like, so this year we're like, man, we might fish some BFLs or some local tournaments in the bass boat side, and then commit to one tournament series, and that's going to be bass this year. Nothing towards Hobie. I liked Hobie's schedule. I like how they run their events. It was just way all the BFLs were working out schedule wise. These were kind of working out pretty decent with other tournaments too, so that's why we just picked bass.
Yeah, so. I still do a lot of local events. I mean, I want to try to do as many locals as I can.
Yeah,
just because I think the more you fish, the more you stay up on your game too. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, time on the water, 100%. I mean,
well, you get in a groove. Like last year, I kind of got in a groove, and you know how we all have a certain baits or something, but I got in a little groove there last year, and it was the same. It carried over to different events. So,
and it does, and it can be different fisheries in general. Like,
oh, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I took the same pattern and just ran it. The same time of year. This show was about pre-spawn and stuff. And when fish are in that same mode, man, you can go to different lakes. That's why you see these guys do good in 2 or 3 events in a row.
Yeah. Once they get on their groove, man. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I know for instance, like some of the events that me and James had, I mean, my year started out kind of slow, but then like towards the end of the year, I was able to kind of finish it a little bit better with Wolf and Fox and Winnipesaukee. I didn't finish where I wanted to finish, at per se, but I caught a pile load of fish. You know what I mean? I caught a lot of decent fish, and that tournament was so tight that, I mean, if you caught it the way it was, if you caught another inch, you moved like 15 spots. It seemed like, you know what I mean? Like it was just so tight.
Or lacrosse is going to be like that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's just so, and them places that has so many fish, Gunners will be like that too.
Yeah.
Where everybody's catching fish, it just, everything's so close.
Yeah.
And every little mistake, you got to just eliminate mistakes.
So, you guys doing any AKS events? I won't be doing none of that. Basically, we're just going to be, for us, it's just going to be bass and local stuff. I want to fish some night tournaments this year. I want to fish more.
Are you going to do the Hobie on New River? Or?
No, we thought about it, but I'm going to be honest with you. New River has been my like kryptonite or something. I don't know what I love fishing rivers. The James River, the Shenandoah, you know, all that stuff. I love them rivers, but every time I go to New River, I suck it up really bad. I don't know what
it's going to be really tough for the Hobies. It really is, because 12-inch fish is, I wouldn't say rare there, but I would guess if there's 200 people in that field, this is just me, you know, just my opinion. I live 5 miles from New River. And anyway, in 2 days, they might be 20, 25 people with 2 limits, 2 days. If that. It fished great last year. It actually fished the best it's ever fished last year. But a whole lot of that had to do with water. We had a lot of rain, and it was always off collar and a lot of extra water in it. It wasn't low.
Yeah.
It had extra water. So that adds in a lot. Because one day I actually, Jody Queen every now and then jumps in our local events. And my teammate, we at our club events, sometimes we'll do teams. And we always fish together. And he beat me. Like, he was ready to go, and I was ahead of him. And I actually measured a fish next to the truck, and he thought I was ready to load up, because we can't load our fish there. We ain't got service. And he's like, "Are you ready to go?" And I was like, "Oh, I just caught an 18.5." And I said, "I think we can fish 30 more minutes, dude." And he said, "What do you got?" And I told him, and I had him by like 2 or 3 inches. And I said, "Let's go for 30 more minutes." So, I couldn't just quit on the last cast, caught 18.5. So anyway, he goes and cools up, and he passes me by like a half inch or something, and beats me. but anyhow, another club event Jody had signed up for, and my buddy Blaine didn't. And I was fishing this area, and man, I had a heck of a day. I had 89 inches, was on the rivers. That's insane. That's actually the highest I've ever heard.
Yeah.
And I called I had a 20.5 or something. When I caught that one, I already had like 85 or something. And I caught that one, and I was like, oh man, it's, how you feel like you've probably done it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I honestly thought, I've done it. Well, kind of find out, my buddy Blaine was actually scoring fish or whatever. And, he never did let me know. He just said, well, they caught them today. And I was like, yeah, I'm sure. I mean, they were biting good. But, the whole time I'm thinking, then I text Jody, and he says, I got like 90 something. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
So and then I straight call him. I'm at the Bojangles drive-through or something. I'm like, and then he figured out, he ended up beating me by half inch.
Oh man.
but that's insane numbers. Them two, I think there was like 5 or 6 bags over 80 inches. So it's not the Susky. I mean, it's not even close to a Susky.
Yeah.
But you're liable to get a bigger fish here than the Susky. Yeah. I mean, I think the Susky fish might be fatter, a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
But we actually had one club, our championship. I was fortunate enough to win on the New River, and a boy had, I think he had 60 some inches for 3 fish. I think that's what he had. He almost beat me. It was a 2-day deal, and he caught it was a record number. I don't know. I don't know what he had. It was way up there. It was insane.
Yeah.
And he caught him by 9 o'clock, and he just didn't know what else to do. He had 3 fish over 20 inches or something.
Yeah, we fished a New River. I fished two. I fished an event in Claytor, but then I fished 2 kayak events on the New River, and we fished 2 different spots. In the second spot, Like I had something that I thought would have done okay, but after the tournament was over, I wasn't even on the right size fish because Jody had like 90 inches, I think, and won it, But that morning, though, I woke up and I was going to put it on the water, and I was like, man, because it was like a stump right there by the boat ramp. And I'm like, where the hell did that stump go? And water didn't come way up. And I'm like, I done called Casey. I'm like, man, are we still doing this thing? Like, this water is rolling. Like, there's no way I'm going to be able to fish this spot. He's like, oh, no, man, still good. I'm like, golly. So I put in, and I probably by 10 o'clock, my battery was dead. Like, I was using it to stay in the current to keep throwing a spinnerbait,
Was you below the Clater Dam somewhere?
No, I was on the other end, and we were up the river. And
Up on the upper side. Okay.
Yeah. And it was, man, the water was just rolling. By 10 o'clock, I had to come off. Like I couldn't paddle up. It was so much current,
Yeah, yeah.
And it was just chocolate milk. And I'm like, what in the world? So
was that a KBF event in the fall?
No, that was just one of Casey.
Casey
Okay. That he used to run for the Virginia Pack League or whatever. But so Jody won that one too. But I got my butt handed to me a lot of times on New River. I don't know what it is about. I love river fishing, but I can't figure them out on New River. It just whips my butt every time.
It's going to be very, very challenging because of the 2 days and depends on the water conditions. It's July. It's not the it gets better towards the fall. August and September, I think, is way better. Also, October's really good.
Yeah.
But it gets kind of a lull there between June and July that it gets pretty tough. You'll just have tons of other people out there.
Yeah. Yep. Well, that's kind of it on the 2023. I mean, that's, like I'm really looking forward to Hartwell just because the spotted bass fishery, just catching some spot.
Hartwell in the time of year, that's going to be, you can catch fish in all 3 phases.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much like when you can do that, you can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
If you want to throw fish offshore, you want to fish the bank, you can do.
Well, you can change up. You can change up through the day. Like say, you go in there early and catch them shallow, or you go in early and you catch them off points, and then you move in when the sun comes up and catch bed and fish or dock fish or whatever. You know what I mean? So like,
yeah, I mean, I'm sure like you like the live scope deal, and I've got the live, but I'm not a fan of live in a way. I mean, it doesn't work for me. It's another tool. And if I had a different way of setting my kayak still, and watching a brush pile or something, I would probably like it better.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It definitely, I've been using a lot through the winter in the bass boat, trying to learn it more and get familiar with it more, and learned a lot. I've learned a whole lot with it, but like saying a kayak is different because you're
constantly moving. I just can't be still. Like the boat just constantly, just drifting one way or the other. And
you're always making, like even if you got a motor in the front and you're spot locked, not unless you're into the wind and you're sitting there fit, but it don't always work that way. You know what I mean? So you're always making those adjustments with it, and it is a little different, but I learned a lot at Pickwick with it. And then after the Pickwick event, we got on the bass boats, and I'm like, I'm solely fishing everything with this, you know what I mean? And I'm going to learn it 100%. And I learned a lot with it. I'm excited to get on some of these events,
Have you upgraded your transducer yet to a 34? Or?
Yeah.
You have. Is it that much better?
I mean, some things, yeah. You know what I mean? Like breaking the brush pile down a little bit more, like you can see things a little bit better in it. But on certain things, I didn't see a big deal.
I think the main deal was the distance, wasn't it? Like you could just be so much farther.
It was the distance, and I think a lot of people liked it a lot more with the perspective mode. I don't like perspective mode that much. It's not my cup.
That's the landscape mode.
Where you turn it sideways and you can basically bird's eye view.
Now, did you see Kennedy with the live with that?
Yeah. Yeah.
He actually used it a little bit today. I think he caught his first fish with it like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in the shallow water, it's going to be really great. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like places where you got the shallow water, I think you could make it work really good for you there. But for me, I fish, I fish in that lake a lot, and I fish deep. So like the regular, whatever you call it, regular mode there, it just worked better for me. But I'll probably play with it some and put it in perspective mode and just play with it some, like in the spring when they're up here spawning.
Well, somewhere at Gunnersville, if you're in a grass flat, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk just a little bit. We're been on here for a while talking. I've had a good time talking with you. Let's talk a little bit about the some post spawn. We're early. I mean, not post spawn, early pre-spawn bass fishing. I mean, we're Florida. They're already there. You know what I mean? And it's going to slowly, gradually work its way up all the way through Gunnersville, Virginia, West Virginia, all that. Let's talk about some stuff that you're looking for before they're on that bed, before they're really, I'm going to say, deep in those creeks. What are some things that you're looking for? And what baits are you going to be throwing to catch those fish? And let's say low 50s.
Man, low 50s tough for me. I actually fish really fast.
Yeah.
But I mean, reaction baits. I'm really like jerk baits. You know, before live sonar or whatever, I threw jerk baits forever. And crank. You know, I'm a bait nut. Like, there's thousands of different crankbaits, and then there's these balsa crankbaits and stuff, and flat sides, you know. And the colder you get, me personally, I mean, everybody likes a rattle trap and stuff with noise. I like the opposite. I don't like noise.
Yeah.
I like the subtle approach, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But and then I've always liked to have a bait that's a little bit different than everybody else. So I've hooked up this year with the new sponsor. It's Folks Custom Baits, and he's got like a 110, you know, version of 110 of his version, and then he's got some custom collars and stuff. So it's just a little bit different than the Mega Bass. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
he's got some good looking baits. I've seen some of your posts and I've gone and checked them out. I've actually was going to order a few and haven't yet, but I do like a lot of his stuff.
Yeah, he's got this new matte collar, and I mean, everybody throws the algae bone. You know, it's got the purple back, the green chartreuse belly, which is great for smallmouth. That used to be my favorite collar for smallmouth.
Yeah.
But then, like, it's crazy how you get a collar like that and you think, oh, I'm the only one doing it. And now the next thing you know, everybody's
throwing it.
You know, it's one of the most popular collars everybody's talking about. But he has it in a matte finish. And I don't know if you fooled around with much of the Mega Bass and the matte finish.
Yeah.
Dude, there's a difference.
Yeah.
The matte finish or something with that. But usually, like channel swings and creeks and stuff like that, I prefer the deeper banks most of the time. And like, I like channel swing banks and stuff.
Yeah.
Because like the channel swing banks, who knows? Like, you know, you got the live sonar. We used to think fish traveled the bank, or, you know, but it does seem like there's just more fish. And what I've noticed on a flat sided bank is you can maybe catch some fish over there, but they're just not near as many fish, you know, I don't think.
They're scattered. It seems like they're scattered more.
Exactly. Yeah. And you could find a spot in a channel swing, you might catch 3 or 4 fish right in a row.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like looking for channel swing banks and stuff.
And I mean, you know, when you starting out, are you starting at the mouth of the creek and working your way in, or do you like to go towards the back of the creek and look shallow first and then kind of ease on out to the deep water?
Well, with the water temp you referred to, is they're not near the spawn as much. So I would be pretty much more out towards your main.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as a water temp got more higher up, then you might want to go farther back in there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's because the fish are going to be farther along. But the deal is they're going to be fish spawn on the main lake. I mean, you know, where the main areas, like, you know, it's spawn season. All the fish don't go to one flat and spawn.
Yeah.
I've noticed a lot of times, even on like on a bluff bank, a big fish, she'll just move right up, you know, on a bluff wall and just on a rock, and she'll spawn on a rock. You're on the Lake of Bluestone, they do that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Smith's like that sometimes. You'll just be going down, you're looking for that bed, you know, and all of a sudden you look and there's a rock and there's a big one sitting on. You're like, what are you even spawning on, you know? But
yeah.
And I love the ones too that spawn on top of the tree stumps. You know what I mean? Like you're going through and it's really difficult sometimes to get it on there because you're always trying to adjust for that when you're looking at it. You know what I mean? Like you might not pitch it far enough when you think you
Oh
did.
yeah, yeah. It'd be hard for him. Yeah, it'd be hard to catch them if your bait can't stay up there.
Yeah, but I love the spawn. I love that time of the season. But like trying to just figure them out before. You know what I mean? So what are some of? I know we talked about you like your flat sides, you like your jerk baits and stuff like that. Or is there anything else that your go to that like if that's not working for you? I know you talk about a Ned rig and all that, but I mean, what are some other things you go to other than those?
Yeah, if you're not getting reaction bites, it depends on sunny day and how much the wind's blowing. If the wind ain't blowing, man, I mean it's hard to get a reaction bite.
Yeah,
and that I mean a shaky head. I've done really well with a shaky head and a jig.
Yeah.
And I've kind of done my own jigs. I just buy the head and buy a skirt, and then I actually tie it and put a little bit of wire around it to keep the. And then like I only use a couple trailers on my jigs. Like when we're talking pre-spawn, I don't want the rage tail. I don't want the kicking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Either zoom chunk or I've been putting the pit boss on the back of it. Actually, I won a tournament just putting a pit boss on the back of it, and it was during the pre-spawn.
Yeah.
Because the flaps just barely move. You know what I'm saying? But now once they get on beds or above, or after, I'll just throw a rage chunk pretty much on my jig.
I got you. Yeah, I love a jig, and when the water temperature hits the 50s, as soon as it hits the 50s, like I mean, I'll throw it, or basically all year long. But like when it's in those 50s, it just seems like they fire on them crawls. You know what I mean? Like they just.
Yeah, and then you get good bites. I mean, if they bite a jig in the pre-spawn, it's going to be a good fish.
Yeah, most time it's a good one. Very rare do you just catch like a dink off a jig at that time of the year.
Yeah, if you notice, like when you're talking water temps in the 50s or low 50s, you never catch a dink hardly. I mean, whatever you're using.
Yeah.
And then once that, really after the spawn, it's just like, oh, all the fish just come out of nowhere and they'll eat anything. You just get, yeah. You don't get, I mean, really, you don't have them days where you catch a whole lot of fish, before 50-degree water, especially in tournament wise.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
you're really praying for 5 fish is what you're doing.
Yeah. You're trying to get 5 good bites all day long. You just hope that you throw enough in front of enough fish to get those bites. You know what I mean? Like you're just trying to cover as much water as you can in those certain situations.
Yeah, I went below the house here, and nobody actually. Right below my house at the boat ramp is at the upper end of the lake. So, really, the guys could run their boats up there, but they got to go over a flat that's like 2 foot deep, and most people don't like that. So really, nobody's probably fished much of the upper part of the river here, and the ramp's really unusual. I mean, I had to like drag my kayak down to the water. I mean, I can't even use wheels. Because the ramp don't even reach the water right now. But I went down there the other day, and it was one of them days where it looks great. It was 65 degrees outside, but the problem was it was 20-some-mile-an-hour winds. But man, the fishing was horrible because I couldn't fish slow.
Mm-hmm.
You got this channel swing bank all the way down through there, and man, there's fish all over that thing. But I could not. I couldn't catch it, and I ended up catching a muskie coming back to the truck late that evening. The wind had died down, and it was slick calm, and ended up catching a muskie right in front of the truck. My last cast.
Yeah, it's been a grind for me.
But I struggle when it was like 47-degree water temp. I've always struggled. But most of the time, when our tournaments and stuff happen, it's always more the pre-spawn, like right when they're ready to move up, right before they bed, right on the edge of a flat or on a point. A lot of times your secondary points, pre-spawn, and of a back of a pocket right before they, move up to go to the flat to spawn.
Yeah,
I've caught several good fish, but the deal is like pre-spawn like that, you might catch 1 or 2 off that little point, but that's all you're gonna catch. You're gonna have to go to another one and hope to repeat it. You're not going to sit there and more likely catch 10 fish or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny how they stack. And like this time of year too, I've been back here. I've gone to I had a video I did not too long ago. I went back into where I was churning mud with the trolling motor, and they were stacked up in water temperatures 47 degrees, but they were so keyed in on shad, like it was really hard to even get a bite. You know what I mean? Like you'd see them blow up, you throw a jerk bait or a rattle trap or a swim bait. You know what I mean? Anything you can to try to.
Oh, they were still blowing up.
Oh yeah, they were blowing up on them back here. And I was like, at first I thought, I was like, man, maybe it's white bass. You know what I mean? They're just back here feeding.
Yeah.
And then they all come by the boat, and I'm like, oh my gosh, look at all of them. But like,
dude, they were largemouth. Was
it
on Smith? Was it on Smith or?
Yeah, it was on Smith.
Huh.
And, but I've had them back there all year, And then if they come out of that creek and it's like probably about 5 foot, I have a chance of catching something.
Yeah.
When they're way back here in that real shallow water and they're chasing, it's really hard to get them.
Yeah, well, see, like that's winter mode. Like, if you know what I'm saying, they're kind of grouped up. As soon as once they start thinking about that spawn, once that water temp gets above 55, that's when you kind of start losing the schooling fish, and you're starting to pairing up fish. A couple here and there.
When they start looking for them honeys, they're trying to find them big girls, and they're gonna start getting around with them. Yeah, it's definitely fun when they start doing that transition, though, when they're going from that late winter to early pre-spawn transition, and you start looking at the stuff that you have confidence in. You know what I mean? Like, say, I went up there the other day with my wife and daughter, and the stuff that I was normally catching them on when it was, still 47 degrees, there was absolutely nothing. I didn't even find no bait fish on the live scope. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I've gone on how many backs of creeks, mouths of creeks, out to 50 foot of water. And I'm like, where are the bait fish? Like there's nothing. So finally I was like, you know what? I'm not going back on the water until I go to Guntersville. Like I'm not looking.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's been I went last weekend, but like I just been focused on getting everything ready for Guntersville now. And I'm just like, I'm not even going out there no more. I'm just going to do my thing, and that's it. So, well, Mark, I really appreciate you, man, coming on tonight. It's getting late. It's almost 9:30, but I really appreciate you taking the time to join us and talk fishing. And I always enjoy, when we're out on the trail and running into, I always run into you at odd places, different ramps or,
Yeah, we're staying inside right beside each other.
Yeah, I didn't even know it. You know what I mean? Like Texas was funny because we didn't even know you were staying at basically the same area. So, but I always enjoy conversating with you. I learn a lot from you when you're talking fishing, and it's just been really fun to build our friendship and learn more and more about each other, and like say doing it while we're competing against each other. It's always fun. So
yeah, thanks for having me on, and let's just hope the water gets above 50 pretty good, closer to 60.
Yeah,
that's when the fishing gets really good.
That's right. But man, I really appreciate it, Mark. I wish you all the best this year, and but not too much. I want to do a little bit better than you this year, and you can finish right below me if you like to.
I just want to win an event, like the Pickwick event. Like I said, I just went down there to win the event, and then whatever the angler of the year is out of my control. It was up to Drew, and yeah, dude, I've been close. I've been so close.
Yeah,
I think I finished second twice in big events, and then I don't know. I probably got top five finishes.
Yeah, you've done really well, and I look up to you guys, like you and Drew and Justin Largan and Ewing Miner and all these other guys that you see, Christine Fisher, all of them, like to be consistent.
They've all won. I haven't won yet.
Yeah, and you're close. I think like say you keep putting yourself in that position.
Yeah,
it's gonna happen. You know what I mean?
That's the only thing you got to keep doing. You just got to keep putting yourself there, trying to catch them.
And it's gonna happen. I mean, it's gonna probably a big old party when you win too. We're gonna have a big old party for you when you win. But
I'll be tickled. I was so nervous at that first bass event they ever had. I happened to have a real good day. It was a 1-day deal.
Yeah.
And when it went offline, I was leading it. And I asked Matt Ball, and I didn't know if anybody passed me the last hour or not.
Yeah.
And I asked Matt Ball, I said, "What do you do?" I'm not good up on stage or anything. And this was at the awards, like where Steve-O was running that event, and just had all us kayak anglers in there, but there were like 250 of us.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Man, ain't nothing you can do. You just gotta, go with it." And I'm like, "Man, I'm gonna have a." but it was all cool and stuff. That's an unbelievable experience. The experience of getting to walk across the stage. I know I don't know, some guys down it because we're up there so early, you know, and I mean, the crowd's not all in there and stuff like that. But honestly, I did not know how many people was in the stands. I had no clue. There's lights on you. You know what I'm saying? And you know, the way they're announcing everything's super loud.
Yeah.
And then they had the little, you know, that they were all kayaker friends, you know, down there at the bottom of the stage. I could see all them and they were jumping around. So to me, I didn't know if there were 10,000 people out there or didn't know there were 500. But anyway, it was still an awesome experience. I mean, you can't take that away.
No, I think they've done a really good job with it. I was the last one I went to at Possum Kingdom. I was a little disappointed how they did that because it wasn't many people at all in there. Like, it wasn't even really advertised much that, you know, and I do think that, you know, I mean, the high school and not knocking it, but the high school championship gets more recognition than the kayaking side, you know, because they weigh in right before the big guys come in, you know what I mean? And that's cool. I mean, I think that's great for the kids. I think it's really awesome for the kids, but I think on the first day of the event, it should be the same way. It should be, you know, if they want to do the high school kids and the kayakers or vice versa.
Now you don't know, is the high school kids, is it just that one day or do they come in on another day?
I think it's the one day. I can't remember if it's first day or second day how they do it, but it's been a while since I've
the Possum Kingdom deal. The stands was the stage was in the middle.
Yeah.
So you actually had a 360 around. That was kind of weird.
Yeah.
You know,
I think they ought to let us come in on our kayaks. I think it'd be cool.
it was really neat. I'm going to have to get a new kayak this year. I'm going to have to upgrade. This kayak, I think this will be the 6th year I've been in this same kayak.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want some money in that boat.
Oh yeah. It's been everywhere, but it's comfortability, you know, like, I like to try to keep things simple. You know, now I added the Mega Live to my, so now I'm 35, 40 minutes of launching every morning with adding, and I added a power pole last year, which I've been putting it off. I actually owned it all last year, but halfway through the season, I put it on, and that power pole is awesome.
Yeah.
It is super. If you're fishing shallow, man, it's a must have. I mean, I've always used the anchor, you know, the Anchor Wizard or something, but that power pole is sweet, man. It is so, you know, and I always load up in the back of a pickup instead of the trailer deal. I just don't want to deal with the trailer deal.
Yeah.
But I'm in the middle of getting a new truck this week. Hopefully I can get another truck this week.
I got you.
Yeah. I mean, my truck's fine. It's just 155,000.
Yeah.
And it's a Toyota. It can last for another 155, no doubt. But I got an opportunity to get another Tundra. So
that's right. I don't blame you there, man. Well, bud, I really appreciate it. Like I say, I enjoy our conversations, and like I say, if you need anything, holler at us. And I look forward to seeing you down there at Gunnersville. And hopefully we're all in the top 5. We'll see.
Sounds good, man. Good luck. Right. Safe travels down there.
You too, buddy. Good talking to you. See you.
All right. Later.
All right, guys. Well, I mean, that was a long conversation. I mean, it's easy to do that with Mark. Like, he's just a good dude, and he just loves talking fishing. He's a fishing fanatic, just like a lot of us are. So, but I really enjoyed it. And Mark is a heck of a fisherman, and he's I mean, just watching stuff that he does or just talking to him at the boat ramp, man, just learn so much from him. You know, he's got a lot of knowledge. He's very knowledgeable with the Bassmaster stuff. Like, who won this or what creek they won it in and this and that. You know what I mean? Like, he's really knowledgeable with that stuff. And like, I talked to him at Pickwick some, and he was talking about, you know, this pro running here and this pro running there. Like, I can watch Gunnersville and watch all 3 days and kind of have an idea where them guys are at. You know what I mean? Yeah. But if you had to ask me to go back 3 elite events, I mean, not just classic, but 3 elite events on where somebody won this or that, I couldn't tell you, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't remember that stuff. I don't retain it well, but Mark does. He's really good at it. So, but no, I really appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Like I say, we might go live from Gunnersville while we're down there. Not 100% sure. Just depends on practice. and how everything is going, because we'll be getting down there on the water Wednesday morning, and we got leaving Tuesday afternoon. We sleeping at a gas station somewhere, probably more than likely, and then Wednesday we'll be on the water bright and early, and getting some cast in and trying to find these fish for Gunnersville. So I know that Sunday we won't do one because we'll probably be just done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just depends. I don't know, man. If we win, we might have to do one. We might have to go live down there at the house. We're going to stay with Bob Brisky and Jason Hensley and James and a few other guys. I can't remember all the names that Bob said that was staying with us, but this is going to be fun. So looking forward to that. You're going to see some videos coming out here. I think we got a few things we're going to be shooting this week. I got one that I just shot, just kind of getting things ready for the Hobie on our One Objective Outdoors channel. So make sure you go over to that channel, hit the subscribe button. All of our tournament recaps, tournament videos, all that stuff is going to be going on at One Objective Outdoors, our YouTube channel. So if you want, you go to our Facebook page. We're kind of active with that here and there. We're more on the One Objective side on social media, the bass fishing side. So, but anyways, yeah, make sure you go over and check that out. Also, check out some of our new products we got. I mean, we got the new Hobie, the Duo adapter plates that we just put on our website. We put those up Thursday. I got a video on them. So you guys that are in a Hobie, got the H-Rail systems on them, whether it's an Outback or the PA or whatever. I'm gonna tell you what, man, I love that Duo adapter plate. Yak Tack did a heck of a job on that, and I really like it. So if you got a Hobie, you need to make sure you get some of them, because we got other products that we're going to be it's going to be coming out that's going to adapt to those. It's the adapter plate, but it's going to be working with those. So really excited about that. We got some stuff that we'll be working on here in the next few weeks, testing. We're probably going out testing some. I'm hoping we got like Wednesday or something, because I think it's supposed to be really nice Wednesday down there. I think in the 70s or something like that. So we're going to be doing some more testing on a product that we finally worked out some of the logistics on getting a few.
Oh.
I'm hoping by
You froze up there. You're going to have to say what you said over again.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm going to get my internet fixed when I get back. I promise, guys. It's been heck. But anyways, I was just saying we're doing some testing on some products. We finally worked out the logistics on this product of, manufacturing and this and that. So we're just doing it. We're in a testing phase now. So we'll have some pretty cool stuff coming out here soon. And then we got a few other products I think we're going to be working on this week that might be coming out. It'll be coming out after probably the Classic. We don't want to release no products while we're gone and people getting a lot of orders with it,
Yeah.
So, but I mean, if you haven't checked out, you need some cool accessories for your kayak. Check out the Kayak Caddy that we just came out with. And then if you're in a new canoe, we got a new canoe caddy as well. But the Kayak Caddy's been a big deal, and guys are loving it. We're getting a lot of great feedback with it. So if you need somewhere to store your accessories and baits, hang baits and hang pliers and scissors and all that, this is a must-have. But other than that, guys, that's all I got. I hope you guys have a great week. Hope you guys enjoy this. Hopefully where you're living at, you're going to have some great weather coming up. If you do, and you get out there and you do some fishing, you catch some nice fish, share them with us. Share your rigs with us, bass boat or kayak. Share them with us. We'll share them in our stories. And then, but other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Hope to see some of you guys down there at the Gunnersville event. If you do, come up, say hi to us. I mean, we're very personable. We love talking fishing. So just come up, talk with us. We play shy guys most of the time. We don't really go up and say much whole lot to anybody, not unless they come talk to us. Just that's just how we are, man. We just try to stay out of people's way and do our thing. So, but other than that, guys, we'll talk to you guys later. Hope you have a great week, and please give us a thumbs up on iTunes, and we'll talk to you later. See you.
See you.